Blake Levine. Today I want to do a talk about working as a parent. So, I wrote this book, The Positive Worker, to teach companies and organizations about how to maintain optimism during times of challenges. But I want to share something that's a little bit different today. As a father, my wife has been working a lot the last few years, and part of my role has been being a stay at home dad. And I've noticed over the last couple of years there's many other fathers and dads that are taking on that role. They are there to spend time with their young children. They're picking them up from school, and they are being stay-at-home dads. And it's interesting because many years ago it was often reversed. The woman would many times stay at home, and the man would go and get a job. And I want to share that sometimes as a stay-at-home dad, you can feel different. I know that when I used to go to the park every morning, there were a lot of women there with their kids or nannies, and I started to feel like, wow, is it weird that I'm a dad and that I'm staying at home with my son? And at first it was kind of lonely, saying to myself, am I different? And then I started to realize that I could connect with the other moms and nannies, and that we could all say that we're trying to take care of the kids that we're watching. I've also learned that there's something very valuable in being there for your kids as they grow up. My son Ryan is an amazing young man. He's 3 years old now. When he was developing, he wasn't speaking for a while, and there was a concern that he may have autism or some other diagnosis. And I started to spend every day trying to teach him how to say words. I used to play games with him where we would try to make sounds. And I did this for a very long time, trying to get him to develop his ability to speak. And finally, he did start to talk. He now is in a school. It's a special needs school where they're helping him, and he's making so much positive progress. And as a stay-at-home dad, it's brought me a lot of joy knowing that taking care of him has helped to make a difference in his life. And now I see him with other children, and I see him speaking and socializing, and it really has made a big difference. And I remember when he was younger, I would take him to the park or playground and teach him how to be social with other kids. And it's really allowed me when I feel down, because sometimes I say, I wish I was a big earner and making a fortune and taking care of my wife and letting her stay at home. And I wish we had the big house and the big cars. And I realized that sometimes there's value in just being there for your kids. And I never planned. I have an education. I've written books. I never really planned to be a stay-at-home dad, but I've started to say to myself that there's a lot of joy in it. And during that time, I wrote this book while I was home with him. I've done a lot of YouTube videos where I've been teaching my lessons. So I found that even as a stay-at-home dad, I could still be productive. And I want to say out there to any other fathers that are stay-at-home dads, you have to find your true value. I was just listening to a speaker share that sometimes people put their value in the home that they have, in how much money they are making, in their prestigious career. And the speaker was saying that the stay-at-home parent has just as much value as the CEO of a company. And it really started to make me think that maybe that's completely true. Being at home with your kids, taking care of them, watching them, helping raise them, why is that any less valuable than the guy that works on Wall Street and makes $1 million, or the person that's the CEO of a company? Yes, they may have more financially, but mentally and spiritually it may not be as fulfilling. And I want to say that we're all different. And to the dads out there that are raising their kids, you have an amazing job. I was doing some research for another book, and during the Depression, a lot of men in the 1920s and 30s were struggling to succeed and survive. They had businesses that were failing. They were unable to find jobs. And it was really hard, and many of them wouldn't talk about it. It would stay isolated, and nobody knew that they were really having a hard time. And I kind of started to think that these last few years, when the economy's been tough, maybe it's the same. Many men are, not having success in their business or can't find a job that really is good for them. And, maybe that's part of the reason why some of us are becoming stay-at-home dads. They said in the research that there were many women that would keep their jobs as nurses or as teachers because, those people weren't let go, but a lot of the men had trouble, finding work in companies. So I just want to say to you today that if you're a dad, you're an amazing person. Your kids are going to need you. The work that you've done is valuable. It has a major purpose. when your kids grow up, they'll remember that you were there for them, that you loved them, that you guided them, you supported them, you helped them, you taught them. And I think that is so exciting and valuable. And when you start to feel like your self-esteem is down, maybe it's hard to be, a stay-at-home dad, remember what you've done. Remember that you're there for your kids. Remember that you've brought light into their life. Remember that you've been a gift to them. Remember that, there is a reason for you doing what you've done. I try to say that when I see my son and I pick him up from school and I give him a big hug and I get that smile, it tells me that it's all been worth it. I want to encourage you to check out this book. If you go on Amazon, you can find it, called The Positive Worker, A Guide to Developing a Winning Attitude at Work. It's great for anybody, even if you're a stay-at-home dad. There's a lot of tips and encouragement and how to stay positive even when it feels hard. I also want to share I do a life coaching program, which is really fun. I work by phone with people from all over. I try to do this when I have time with the kids, when I'm able to work a few hours a day. And I'd love to help you and coach you. If you're a stay-at-home dad or you want to make some positive progress, you can learn about it on my website. And I want to thank you for checking this out. If you're interested in the coaching program, please call me anytime. Thanks.